I am here at Adepticon 2023, and the energy here is electric. You can hear the rumble of 1,000,000 dice being rolled, the clack of tape measures snapping closed. You can practically smell the plastic in the air from the millions and millions of miniatures on display and being played with. And that has gotten me thinking about my relationship with an obscure little war game, you might have heard of it, called Warhammer 40,000, because I don't know if I would call it my main game anymore. It hasn't been for a while now. You know how it is with high school sweethearts. I played tons of 40K back in the day for years and years and years, and I still collect and paint and math hammer and list build, but I never find myself making the time for Warhammer. My love has shifted to other games. Other games like Dead Zone by Mantic, a fast-paced skirmish game that has true points-based list building and really exciting grid-based movement. Or Malifaux, a character-focused skirmish game that uses a 52 deck of playing cards instead of a D6 for their actions. I still enjoy the spit out of tabletop wargaming. In fact, my obsession with all things tabletop has never been stronger. But what is it about these other games that has pushed me in the direction of shelving my Black Templars and my Necron armies? Well, for me right now, Warhammer 40,000 is feeling a little bit too much like work. I just don't find myself making the time for it lately. I still love the idea of Warhammer 40K. My favorite thing is the role-playing aspect of seeing these grand armies clash on the battlefields. But what irks me about Warhammer 40K is everything else. Warhammer 40K 9th edition is a bit of a mess. What irks you about Warhammer 40K 9th edition?
Tau.
That you just get used to something and then they come out with a new data slate and the game changes.
Everything. Literally everything. It's so overwrought and so overcomplex and way too much nonsense going on. That's why I'm very excited about 10th. I like the messaging around simplifying. Let's see it.
What irks you about Warhammer 40K 9th edition?
There are so many Xenos. Why have you not played them all yet?
Now that's probably a hyperbolic statement. It is a very playable game, and thousands upon thousands of people are playing it and having a great time, just like I and everybody else did for the last 8 editions. It is a wonderful game with lots and lots of beautiful, beautiful miniatures and more rules than stars in the sky. What would you like to see from Warhammer 40K 10th edition?
I'd like a version of the game that is more streamlined, so you're just worried about having fun and making sure that my cool dudes do something different, but also cool compared to your cool dudes.
I would like to see vehicles make a huge comeback. That would be my big change.
If they bring Grenadiers out of Legends, that'd make my day. That's all I care about.
But it could be better. It could be faster, and it could be more engaging. Warhammer 40K to me right now is a little bit too front heavy. It can take a long time to list build, and it's not the type of list building I really like. I find it fun to tally up points and pick a relic for my warlord, but when I crack open a 40K codex and I read through page after page after page of stratagems, detachment special rules, psychic powers, warlord traits, it all becomes a little much. All I want to do is roll dice, and anything that stands between me and doing that is a nuisance. Really long setup phases for games can be an absolute chore, and it especially sucks when you're trying to introduce new people to the game. You sit down to play, but then it can take an hour to get ready to actually play, especially if they're a newbie. Most people are pretty used to board games or video games, so you're pretty immediately thrust into the action. But that really long wait can really put people off, even if they would enjoy the gameplay. How long do you think a war game should take to play?
Should and what they actually take is a big difference. I think they should take like 2 hours, but they probably take closer to 3.5 or 4. But obviously all kinds of games have different run times, right? But yeah, maybe 2 hours is a sweet spot.
Skirmish game, 45 minutes. Full war game, 2 to 3 hours.
But it really depends on who you're playing with, right? Are we, kind of having fun with someone in a hot tub playing at the same time? Maybe it's 8 hours. So, which is bad if you're in a hot tub. Don't do it if you're in a hot tub. But yeah, an hour and a half.
Depends on the game specifically. Like something like Kill Team, which is just a skirmish level game, should take about like an hour.
Now, are we taking into account how much time it takes us to get all our books set up, our dice trays set up, all our models set up before we play?
Definitely.
Okay, I'm going to go with 2.5 hours, but that's probably about 10 minutes on each end. That is that setup and the takedown and BSing after the game. So the actual from the first dice roll, 2 hours.
Time is such a huge factor for miniature wargaming, and a lot of these other games I have tried just feel so quick to play. X-Wing was the first non-Games Workshop game I ever tried out, and I fell into it hard. I bought armsfuls of these little ships, and I was playing with them just as soon as I got the plastic off. It's so fast to get into the furious dogfights, and in an evening, I can play a dozen games of X-Wing. In 3 months, I had played more X-Wing than I had played of 40K in over 4 years. X-Wing was the first hot new non-Games Workshop game I tried out, but it wouldn't be the last. Do you think 9th edition Warhammer is intimidating to new players?
I definitely do. I think there's a lot of rules and there's a lot to go through when you're learning and you kind of set the book out in front of you and you're like, oh, okay, there's stratagems and it's definitely intimidating though. Definitely intimidating.
Yes.
Absolutely. They do something really well in that they get us really excited about what's on the box, the incentive of what could be. And then there's this gap between what could be and then playing a game. And that gap is pretty large, and it would be great if they could tighten that up.
Even though I'm a veteran Warhammer 40k player, 9th edition is still pretty intimidating to me. When I was playing 6th and 7th edition, I knew everything. I read every single codex. The only thing really to keep track of was the big rule book and the occasional FAQ errata to print out and to slip into the books. The only real changes mid-edition were the fun kinds of changes, new miniatures, and I was there. I was there in 2013 when the Imperial Knights marched back onto the battlefields. I was there in 2013 when the Gene Stealer cult was resurrected, and I was there in 2016 when the Sisters of Battle finally got their range refresh. Do not cite the deep lore to me, witch. I was there when it was written. 40k 9th edition looks like a train going full steam, with campaign books and chapter approved, and it looks like a lot of fun for the people who are already on board, but I don't know if I'm ready to climb on. And compared to that, I have all these other companies calling my name. You're telling me I can play a game with Stormtroopers and Darth Vader and all I have to do is read a 16-page rulebook? Sign me up. I am here at Adepticon 2023, and I think it is very telling that all of the games here have demos available to play, so I can try before I buy. All of the games except for Games Workshop. All they have is a pop-up store where I can buy all the same miniatures that I could get at my local Warhammer store, and for full retail price. How many different war games do you play?
I think there are probably 70 or 80 miniatures games in the house, and then probably close to 300 box games. And that doesn't include RPGs, which we probably play a dozen of.
Song, Age of Sigmar, and Guild Ball.
How many different war games do you play?
Oh, Jesus. Too many, probably. I don't know, 4?
I actually only play Warhammer 40k. I've been interested in Age of Sigmar and stuff, but I just never been able to get into it. I have so much invested in Warhammer, I don't want to start over.
I'm going to say probably like 10 off the top of my head, maybe 2 or 3 regularly, but there's probably a good 10 or so in the mix.
Another thing that has steered me away from Warhammer 40k in the last couple of years is, you guessed it, the price. Now, to some extent, I get it. Wargaming is not a cheap form of entertainment. You need books and dice and miniatures and all of these different things. It's not an easy thing to do. And so I can get over the price of the kits. Well, I mean, it still annoys me, but I could get over it. What I can't get over is all of these discount boxes. Combat patrols, boarding actions, strike forces, battle forces, starter sets, vanguard boxes. Sure, they are a deal, but it takes the choice away from me. Instead of me picking out all my models, making choices based on how cool the minis are or how much I want to paint them. With these bundle boxes, I just get whatever Games Workshop decides should be in my army. And sure, I end up with more plastic, but I don't get exactly what I want. I don't feel the same attachment to these bundle boxes as I do to my hand-picked armies. How much do you think a miniature game should cost to get into?
To get into? I think 50 is a good price point, but I guess 100's not too bad.
I think to have a full army, rules, and like enough to play another person, I think it's reasonable to expect that it might cost $250?
Under $100, and maybe different factions are slightly different, but that would be where I would put the price point.
About $300 for your first army.
Now, why is Games Workshop so obsessed with these big bundle boxes? Well, it's to get people to buy a lot more stuff all at once. But Games Workshop, you know what else you could do to get people to spend more money? Have a sale. Just have a sale like every other product in the world. Folks would drop big money on a back-to-school Warhammer sale or a Black Friday Black Legion blowout. Orktober Ultra Sale, Fenrisian February, Christmas with the Kazarkin Holiday Sale, Cataphracti Coupon Codes, Dark Eldar Deals in December, Custodes Kwanzaa. All of these Games Workshop doubles boxes average out to about 30 to 40% off of retail, so why not just cut out the middleman and have a sale? You wouldn't have to ship giant boxes all over the world, and you would still move product. What stops you from buying the miniatures that you want?
Oh, my wallet.
Nothing really stops me except for like motivation when you just see all the great plastic in the corner. I say that's probably what stops me the most.
So Warhammer 40,000, the game that got me into tabletop wargaming, is having some issues right now, but this video's been a lot of negativity. I do not hate Warhammer 40,000. In fact, I love it. I just like Warhammer 40k, and I will continue to read the books and collect the miniatures and work on my armies, and who knows, 10th edition Warhammer is right around the corner. I remember 8th edition Warhammer like it was yesterday. It was a full reset of all the rules, and I absolutely loved it. It was some of the most fun I ever had playing Warhammer 40,000, and I have high hopes for Warhammer 40k 10th edition. All Games Workshop has to do is cut out the fat, stratagems, make some universal special rules to cut down on the rules bloat, and update all armies on launch. No more Codex trickle. The poor Imperial Guard players just got their Codex in January, 3 years into 9th edition. If Games Workshop can turn this crazy train into a happy little trolley, I will happily climb on board. What do you love about Warhammer 40k?
Why would you ask me that? You want this is what you want. You want this, right? This is what I love. It's what it does to me. You just said those words, and then maniac, that's what happened, right? That equals happiness to me. That equals warm fuzzies. That equals Corn wants it all day long. That's what I love, right? I love Corn. I love chaos, because chaos is life. You're looking at me so intensely right now.
What do you love about Warhammer 40k?
The variety of factions and the different play styles that you can bring to it. Everything from being completely whacked out, like you are on drugs playing orcs, or so totally disciplined that you feel like you're in a different world war running a particular faction in that world war.
I'd have to say it's the lore. Like, you can really lose yourself in the story of Warhammer. You know, you feel a part of it. That's something bigger than you, and you step away from everything that's going on in the world, and you can enjoy something that's darker but also enjoyable, if that really makes sense. Yeah.
The world building, definitely. I mean, I love playing humans and killing aliens. That's all it's all about in the end of the day for me.
What do you love about Warhammer 40k?
About Warhammer 40k, I literally, like, what's not to love? I mean, you got the amazing models. I'm a Space Marine guy, so all my locals know I'm a Crimson Fist guy, and Iron Hands guy, but I mean, I love the lore, I love all the books, I love coming to things like Adepticon where it's amazing, get to meet all these other people, and that all entides to Warhammer.
I love, look at this. This is absurd. We are adults playing with plastic toys, and we love it, and we embrace it. That's really what it is.
Awesome.
Bare bones.
Great answer. Warhammer 40k is now 36 years old and is still going strong. It may not be my main game anymore, but it'll always be a big part of my hobby. And speaking of my hobby, I want to let you all in on what is coming next for Eons of Battle. But first, you know where you can always find awesome STL terrain packs? That's right, our Patreon. This month, you can get access to our newest terrain pack, the Starship Bridge, a modular grimdark spaceship interior complete with a captain's chair and some stained glass windows. We also make one extra episode of Eons of Battle every single week where we take a look at our viewers' miniatures and give them some critiques and ideas of how to improve their painting. And we have a tier where you can get your name on one of my Black Templar Space Marines and you can join the crusade. It is very fortuitous that I am here at Adepticon, surrounded by every single wargame under the sun, because next month, Eons of Battle will be participating in Other Games April, a month dedicated to showing off miniatures and games from other companies. You will see some gangs, whole armies, and some really big models get painted, so I hope you will join us along for the ride. The future of wargaming is very bright. Thanks for watching. Okay.